Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're here for the annual leadership business plan. As you know, at Glover U, we spend so much time pouring into your people. And of course, we spend a little bit of time pouring into you as well through either our lead up events or our team and brokerage building courses. And of course, anytime you come to our bigger events, whether it be a summit or retreat, you have an opportunity to hop into any one of our breakouts or special sessions specifically for leadership. And our goal of today is to walk you through the exact same business plan that we'll be operating from. And when I say will be, I should say are operating from, because as you guys know well, 2026 started on Monday. Every action, every schedule, every morning routine, everything started just a couple days ago for your agents and you as a leader as well. So I've got some great talent on here with me today. Our CEO, Kathy Schweitzer, as well as Scott Tolar, who also specializes in working with a ton of our leadership clientele. And of course, he's got a resume, probably 7 pages long in terms of leadership experience as well. So before we dive in, for my first timers, and it's hard to imagine that we still have first timers today, but I know that we still have first timers joining us. So welcome to all of our first timers. And if you could in the chat, just so I know where everyone's joining us from, before you type anything into the chat, it probably defaults to hosts and panelists. So if you click on chat and change it to everyone, now when you type in the chat, we'll be able to see your messages, and everyone else will be able to see your messages. This particular session is going to be more of a discussion and less of a presentation. Our leaders, brokerage owners, team owners are very much capable of obviously running a business, and our hope is after today's session, you're going to be able to apply some of the things that we're utilizing in our business plan into your business as well. So great to see everyone joining us this morning from all over North America. Thank you for dropping in the chat. I was going
Jeff,
to
the
ask, yes,
world
let
too.
us know.
We
There
have
And
was
the
someone
Belgium
from
in there.
Belgium.
Okay, all right, Belgium. All right, well, listen, I'm waking up in Seattle this morning. I feel like I'm in a different world today. So does that count? So good to see everyone from all over North America and Philippines. Okay, there we go. All right, Belgium. I love it. Well, listen, I've been told that people follow our stuff internationally, and of course, we do see that from time to time in our sessions. So we are recording this session. So everyone in this session will be receiving a copy of that. So I believe that they've already started the recording. So that is good. So you've got a recording. When this is all said and done, you'll be able to go back and watch this perhaps with your leadership team as well. So first things first, for my first timers, I want to make sure that you're utilizing a few of the free resources that are available to you and your agents. The most common and or popular, I guess you would say, resource that exists today is the daily message. And so the daily message is actually something you can scan the QR code on the screen there, or if it's easier for you, you can text the word morning to 55444. I think today we have over 27,000 subscribers to that daily message. And as a leader of a company, the reason why you want to have your hands on that, if you don't already, is because you can take the material that I share. So every day, for those that are not familiar, by the way, if you're receiving the daily message and getting value from it, can you do me a favor and just drop that in the chat? If you're receiving the daily message, getting value, just so I know if I should continue doing those every single morning, drop that in the chat if you guys are getting value from those. And of course, the when I think about the daily message for you, I as a leader, you understand you can take a lot of the messaging that I put in there and you can turn those into training classes. A lot of what I do is very themed. And what I mean by that is, I'll wake up in the morning. I write, by the way, just in case you're wondering, yes, I do write those every morning. I don't backfill them. I don't write them all on the weekend and release them Monday. No. They're written literally every single morning in real time. And I do that because what I do is I think about what did I do yesterday? This is where the daily message starts. What did I do yesterday? Now, of course, I know that it's mostly real estate agents on there, so I try to keep it, what did I do yesterday to move my real estate business forward? And I think about a conversation I had with a client, an objection I had to overcome, a tactic that I used on social media, something that we used in a video content we put out, and I share it every single day to help you and your agents list and sell more real estate. And so my recommendation to you, and I know teams and brokerages across, particularly North America, maybe internationally, who are using the daily message as part of their onboarding. It's just, hey, when you join our firm, you take this class, you sign up for this, and you go download the daily message. So everyone on this session, you should have it for your own reading purposes, but really you should be using it for training purposes in your brokerage. So if you text the word morning to 55444, they'll probably drop that in the chat. If you text the word morning to 55444, you'll be sure that you get a copy of that. Okay. Um, Last but not least, I did the introductions on Scott and Kathy. I just want to make sure our marketing team behind the scenes is recording this. I don't see that. Oh, yeah, I do see it's recording. I'm so sorry. You know what? They're always a step ahead of me. The reason why the record button is staring me in the face like it wants me to click it, but then okay, I see that it's recording. All right, I just want to make sure everyone's get a copy of it. So I've got Kathy here, I've got Scott here. Let's dive into the actual business plan itself. You guys can go find the rest of our resources. They had those up on the screen there. A simple way to get your hands on the rest of them is to just download the Glover U app. You'll have access to literally everything we do. Just search Glover space the letter U in the App Store, and you'll have access to every single free resource we put out there. We probably put out more free resources than we've ever charged for. So go take advantage of those for yourself as a producer and or share those with your agents. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's get the first page of the business plan back up on the screen if we would. We also dropped it in the chat. So that way you guys have access to that. You can download it right there from the chat. So if we can get the business plan thrown up on the screen, we're going to walk you through it now. And I've got my resident experts on hand with us because, again, this is going to be more of a discussion than anything. So let's go to the very first part of the plan. Everyone should have that up in front of them. If you don't, you see it in your screen there. Let's go to the first part of the plan, section 1. So
Yes.
this is just a simple year at a glance. When you're done, basically, when you're done with the plan, I want you to go back and fill out this page on page 4. We do that because, listen, if you need a pick me up, if you need a quick motivation, if you need to remind yourself why you're doing this, that's what I love about this plan or this page particularly. It's a reminder. Okay, if I do all this, that owner profit number there, that the second one from the bottom, if I do all this, then I'll have that number. Listen, in what we do in leadership, most days aren't pretty. So if you're ever looking for a good pick me up, I like to turn to this page because it really is a summary of all the goals and reminds me of why I'm doing what I'm doing. So we don't need to do anything with this right now. After you complete the plan, you're going to go back and add in what gets totaled up from the plan. So let's
So
continue.
real quick on that,
Yeah.
Jeff, is I love what Scott always says. This page should be in front of you constantly. Every
Yep.
day, to Jeff's point,
Yeah.
is that it is something that is, should get you motivated. I've had clients, obviously, and Jeff, you and I have done this in the past, in the upper right-hand corner, they write down places they want to go,
Yeah.
things that they want to do.
Yeah.
And things they want to do, places they want to go, things they want to do, things they want to have right in that corner, so it keeps them motivated.
Yeah.
The other tip I want to throw out is, remember, as we're doing this document, and Jeff, you and I being together for so many years know this, is that the business plan is a working document. So
Mhm.
remember, it's a working document. I have clients, the more you utilize it and look at it, it can be tweaked, it can be changed, it can be added to, it can be pulled apart. So just keep that in mind, that this page keeps you excited, but know that the entire plan is a working document.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing just to add to that is in the Glover U Inner Circle the other day on the Facebook group, somebody asked, "What should I be reading in 2026?" My first response was this page every single day, whether you're an agent or a leader, because you got to keep this in front of you,
Yeah.
because we've got to remind ourselves on a daily basis why we do it every single day.
Yeah.
That's right. It helps make up for the bad days. All right, let's go to the next part of the plan then. So that's, by the way, on the inside cover. It's essentially something that, if you want to rip that out of the plan and pin that up there to your whiteboard or whatever you keep in front of you, do. So let's take a look at part 1. And by the way, you're all business owners, you're all business leaders, so you understand the value of knowing your numbers. And what I have found when we put together a business plan for, say, Glover Agency, we cannot think about what it is we want to accomplish until we know what we've actually accomplished, right? You can't sit back and say, well, I'd like to do this. No, you got to know exactly where you're at. And when I think about part one or part two of the plan, that is absolutely, I don't know how else to say it other than it's a reality check of where we're at and what took place. So let me just walk you through a few of these on here, especially the ones that you might have questions on. So ending agent count, I think everyone understands what that means. That is your agent count by the end of this year. How many agents will you have? You had agents come in, you had agents go, you had a gross, you had a net. What did you end the year with? How many agents did you end the year with? And then it gets into a little bit production, all right? Listings taken, offers written, listings sold, buyer sales, units written, current pendings, current active listings, total units closed, total volume closed, per person productivity, which we'll talk about in a second, average sales price, average commission, total GCI, total company dollar, total expenses, net income, and what was your margin. If you are not keeping, if you're not going through business planning one-on-ones with your agents, then you're going to find that some of this information, you might not have. Now, watch. You should, as a company, that the way we built this, you should know these numbers, regardless of what your agents report to you. In other words, what I'm saying is, it doesn't say how many appointments gone on. All right. Now, I know that you have no idea of tracking how many your agents went on unless they track their actual numbers. And I know that we've got different calibers of teams and leaders and brokerages that are watching this. So we stuck to the stuff, the numbers that you should actually have record of. And as a business owner, you would know how many listings were taken by your company. As a business owner, you would know how many active listings you have. So this is a very reality check type page. And for anyone that is curious, we use the term company dollar often. That's revenue. Not everyone uses that term company dollar. So when you hear us say company dollar, that's the revenue prior to any of your expenses. Essentially, the money that comes in from your agent's commissions, right? The part that you get to keep. Anything that you want to add to this, Scott or Kathy, the
Yeah.
production results before we move to the recruiting results?
One thing that I would encourage you to also look into that's not directly written on here is what your company fallout rate is.
Yes.
Understanding how many deals it takes to get under contract to actually close them, because nationally right now, the fallout rate is hovering anywhere between 20 and 30%. It can be as high as 45%, depending on where you're at in different parts of the country.
Yeah, very.
So yes, we want to make sure you write that down in that the results, your fallout rate, and then as we plan in 2026, you're going to have to predict when we get to that page what the fallout rate is. Remember, in order to build out where you are going for the future, we have to know concretely and specifically where we've been in the past.
Yeah.
So that's what this does, to Jeff's point.
Yeah. And listen, if you're wondering, like, well, what do you think your prediction will be on the fallout rate? I think it's going to be about the same in 2026. So if you had a 20% fallout rate in 2025, I would just plan on 20% in 2026. Even if it goes up a little bit, if you're working with your agents, this is a huge training opportunity. If you're working with your agents on keeping deals together, every single one of you on this session should be doing 30, 60, 90-minute roundtables, masterminds, panels. This is something we do with our team during our sales meetings. We'll actually identify which of our agents have the highest contract to close ratio. So everyone should write that down. Who on my roster has a high contract to closing ratio? Because depending on how big your roster is, that's a panel that you can run in your December or in your January sales meeting, and you focus all of the questions around. So tell me, when a bad inspection report comes through, what are the steps? So tell me, when a buyer's financing or the buyer's appraisal comes in low, what are the steps? I think that we maybe take for granted that our agents know how to keep deals together when there really isn't a lot of formal training. You probably were trained on how to keep deals together based on experience, right? If you think about your level of experience of keeping deals together, it was just based on your experience of keeping deals together. And so if you could create some level of training around that topic as you go into 2026, I think that'd be real smart for brokers and leaders of companies.
Yep.
Agreed.
So on the right-hand side of this document, they'll throw that back up there. On the right-hand side of this page, you're going to see all of the recruiting results from you personally and or your leadership team. And so, if you are actively involved in recruiting, then this gives us an idea. What I when I see this recruiting results, I think about it's kind of like, the real estate agent business plan is their efficiency and their conversion ratios with buyers and sellers. This is your efficiency and your conversion ratios with recruiting. And so you'll see their total recruiting contacts new, meaning new agents, total recruiting contacts that you made to producing agents. And we're going to talk about that a little bit as we get into the plan. We see a huge opportunity for producing agents. You have to understand if an agent goes from being a $4 million producer or a $3 million producer, and they got hit pretty hard last year. Let's say they're $1.5 million producer after fees, after costs. Trust me when I tell you, they're looking for other options. So there's a huge, huge gap there that you could fill. How about the interviews? How many did you meet with? How many did you add new and producing? How many did you lose? And then what was your net gain after you subtract how many came in and how many came out? I also like to know what's effective as it relates to your marketing and recruiting. How many emails were sent in the calendar year 2025? How many text messages and DMs were sent? Did you use a service for that, or was that something that you could go back and keep an eye on? Now, listen, if you don't have an exact number on this, it's okay, right? If you can give me a rough, hey Jeff, I roughly sent out X amount of texts per month times 12 months, right? We can arrive at some rough estimates, but I need something because I know you're doing it, and if you're not doing it, then that's obviously a missed opportunity. How many posts did you put out there on social media? How many videos did you create and share as it relates to joining your company? And how many recruiting ads did you run? These are all, in my opinion, expectations of a leader of a real estate team, brokerage, network, downline, whatever it is you're operating. Everyone should have answers in each one of these categories.
Mhm.
Anything you want to add, Kathy or Scott, before we move on to part three?
Nope, just this is a solid recap, and I think we need to dive into what we need to do to move forward.
Yep.
Perfect. All right, let's go to part three in the business plan on the very next page. Part three, we're talking top three sources of sales production. So basically, part three is all about where business came from. All right. This relates to sales within your brokerage team or network. It also relates to sources of business for your recruits. Where did your recruits come from? Did you find you had great results with Indeed? Did you use a service to make recruiting calls for you? What are your top sources? Where are they coming from? You're going to find that we very much at Glover, you are big believers in doubling down. I don't want you inserting a bunch of new stuff all the time. I don't want you to spread yourself too thin. I'd rather you double down on things that are already working. We will talk about some techniques and things that are newer or newish that are working, but before you introduce anything new, I want to make sure we're exhausting all options for getting results from what we're currently doing. Kathy,
Yes.
add
So
something.
one of the things that I just want to throw out to everyone is, when you're leading a group or whether you're an agent, et cetera, or a leadership broker owner, you've got to look at your strengths first, right? So we know as coaches, right, as professional coaches and leaders, that we look at your strengths first, and then you double down on that strength because our job as leaders is to look at our agents and help them double down on their strength. And our job as coaches of leaders is to help you look at what your strengths are and then double down on it. So when you look at your top three sources of sales production, you've got to say, okay, where are we getting our business? And I've learned that a lot of people don't track that enough. Companies, and you would think they do in brokerages and
Yeah.
teams, and I see Scott shaking his head, and then
Mhm.
ways you have to double down on. So just remember when you double down on something, you're enhancing your strength and you can double down on your time, your resources, or your skills. Okay. So whether it's doubling down with your sources, with your agents, or recruiting, remember double down is you're enhancing your strengths so you can double down in time, resources, and skills.
Yeah, we hear the term double down thrown out all the time, kind of loosely. What does double down actually mean? There's three ways you double down. You're either doubling down on your time, your resources, or your skills. Yep. Perfect. All right, let's move on to the next part of the plan and let's keep rolling. So this is where we essentially take all of our sources and we dive a little bit deeper on the sources. Like, how do we know what sources to double down on? How do we know what sources are working, what sources are not working? And this is where we take a look at, okay, if I'm seeing a positive ROI from that and it's a top three source, which we would identify down at the bottom, then this is something that I should consider doubling down on. That's essentially that's the question that this page answers. How do I determine what I should be doubling down on? You go through step 4 and you figure out your sources, the units closed, of course, the GCI, what you paid for it, and it's going to give you an ROI. You should take, in my opinion, your top three ROI. You see down there at the bottom, when you look at your ROI on the right-hand side, and that can be percentage, it can be dollar amount. I'm more of a fan of looking at ROI on dollar amount because you could
Mhm.
have a high percentage on something and you get 3 transactions from it. Or you can have a high percentage on a return on something and it brought in just 3 new agents for the entire year, but you didn't spend a dime to do it. Okay, that might be a good ROI percentage, but honestly, what is the actual ROI in terms of dollars and cents? And so I would use ROI as a dollar amount, not just a percentage amount. Once you identify what's giving you the best ROI, you write that down there at the bottom on step 4.
100% agree. And
All right.
without knowing these numbers, the challenge for some people is they could be losing so slowly they think they're winning,
Mhm.
by not knowing exactly what each of these numbers are doing for them.
Yeah, yeah, very true. All right, let's go to step 5 in the leadership business plan. And for anyone, and I wouldn't imagine anyone on this session, for anyone who's on this thinking, gosh, this is a lot of data, a lot of numbers. You're a business owner, all right? Listen, you think getting your agents to complete a business plan is tough. You can't get them to complete a business plan unless you complete a business plan. So
Mhm.
yes, you set the bar on this. You set the example on this. So now, once we have an idea of kind of where we're at, the reality check stuff is kind of behind us. Now we're looking at, okay, what do I want to do for the year?
Mhm.
Production and recruiting wise. Essentially, as the leader of the organization, there's 2 things you need to be thinking about at all times. What is our production? And how many agents do I need to recruit? Really, when I think about running a real estate sales business, whether it's a team, whether it's a brokerage, whether you're leading a network, those are really the 2 things you really have to be thinking about constantly. What does our production need to look like? And what does my recruiting need to look like? Outside of that, everything else is just noise. And so in part 5 and part 6, we identify, okay, based on what we've accomplished, what do we want our production to look like? Taking into consideration our current agent count, the agents that we want to add, what is that production going to look like? And by the way, you see down there in the bottom a profit margin guide, best practices. We get asked all the time, Jeff, do you have any recommendations for what my profit margin should be? Well, I know there's probably a million different books written on this. And here's the thing, and you might go to conferences or go to masterminds where everyone's talking about what it is that they're doing. But the reality is anytime someone gives you a number, unless it's in one of our rooms, okay, this doesn't happen in our rooms, but anytime someone suggests a number, you might as well just go ahead and cut that number in half because they are exaggerating to you. They are saying high numbers to make them look good or to make it look good on paper in books. And so when people look at these numbers, they say, well, Jeff, these margins are a little lower than what I've been told or what I've read. That's because we're telling you the truth. We're willing to tell you the truth of what it takes to run a real estate team or brokerage today. And so while it might look discouraging, for instance, over 15 million in GCI to go into single digit profit margins, understand if you do the math on all of these margins, the bottom line continues to increase every time. All right. So
Mhm.
the piece of the pie might get smaller, but the whole pie itself gets bigger, which means your slice actually gets bigger. So if you want a real honest profit margin guide, that's it. And I'm sure there's other great recommendations out there. I'm not sure how they came up with them, but as you know, we're in it with you. We're running large brokerages. We're running a large team. We know what the numbers are supposed to look like and what the reality check is of those numbers, and that's a good guide to work off of there. Kathy, Scott, anything you want to add to part 5, part 6?
Yeah, I would just add that while this looks overwhelming, this is the page that allows you to fund your unreal life. What activities are actually necessary for you to get that life you've always desired? And then breaking it down into that bottom right-hand corner, the expectations to achieve the goals. We oftentimes, when people are putting their business plans together, they'll give themselves that really big number for the year. But this is breaking it down in that bottom right-hand corner to, okay, what is it going to take every single day? How many appointments a week? And all of those specific metrics so that it's bite-sized and able for you to hold yourself accountable on a weekly basis. So
Yeah.
don't just fill out the top part, fill out that bottom right-hand corner too, so that you and your coach can hold you accountable to what it's actually going to take on a weekly basis for you to live that unreal life.
And of course, I would be remiss, and Jeff, you know this about me, to not spend a minute on recruiting. Okay.
Mhm.
We're going to get into some specifics, but remember, what we have to always understand is that your recruiting numbers, recruiting solves all.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
And I want everyone who doesn't know us, everyone who does know us on there is smiling right now because they've heard us say it 100 million times. But being in the field recruiting myself and leading people recruiting, it solves all. So the more specific you are with these numbers and the more real you are and the more you are with tracking them, the better recruiter you're going to be. And for those of you that are leading either leaders or a recruiter, you've got to sit with them and run through these exact numbers. And the bottom line is we added the expectations to achieve the goals. And one of the things that you want to be thinking about is your gross number and your net number, right? So a lot of people can say, well, I recruited 100 people. Okay, well, how much did you net, right?
Yeah.
And one of the large organizations that I'm blessed to coach and work with that is excelling, and actually they just reached their billion goal. They just passed
Nice.
their 1 billion. That's Iron Valley.
Oh
Congratulations,
yeah.
guys.
That's awesome.
So one of the things that we're diving deep on and they're really good at is looking what our gross gain is, our net gain, but also everyone please write down below this, um, productive agents and new agents.
Hmm.
So you want to be looking at what is your net gain with productive agents
Yeah.
and new agents. Okay, so that's just an addition to that. But this is critical, and we're going to spend a little more time on
Yeah.
ways to recruit in just a second.
Yeah, and I'll say this before we go into some of those tactics, and don't take this the wrong way. You know, for those of you that are newer to us at Glover U, you're going to find out we're very direct. We tell the truth, even when it stings sometimes. So don't get mad when I say this, but anyone, that means everyone on this session. All right, so this is just the truth. Okay, uh, anyone can recruit a newbie, but only a skilled, talented leader can recruit a producer. And so I meet leaders all the time. Say, hey, I had my best recruiting year ever. I brought in 100 agents this year.
Mhm.
That is fabulous. I love hearing that. Congratulations to you. How many of them were producing?
Mhm.
Well, I mean, not as many as I wanted, but probably at least, 6 or 7. Well, hold on a second. You had 365 days. We'll call it 250 if you subtract Sundays and Saturdays. You had 250 days and you brought in 6 or 7 producing agents last year, to which I always respond with, what were you doing all year? Because anyone can recruit newbies and only skilled, talented leaders can bring in producing agents. I want everyone
Yeah,
on this session, everyone who joins us at anything we do as it relates to Glover U, to be the person that thinks of producing agents first. So you know how we solved that, Kathy and Scott. You guys know what I did internally with Taylor. I removed the option for her to recruit new agents.
right.
Yep.
Remove the option to recruit new agents, and guess what? You're forced to improve your skills. You're forced to get better at producers. And oh, by the way, we added, I think it was just under 2 million in GCI to a real estate team in one year with producing agents. All right,
Yeah.
let's keep rolling.
Well, I can't help but I have to say, first of all, you tell them that, Jeff, because we love them. We tell the
Yeah,
truth and tell the truth because we care enough to tell the truth. So,
yeah,
but the productive agents is the way to go. That's where my experience lies. And there's a variety of reasons. We can't get into all of it now,
sure.
but I'll just tell you is that it affects your bottom line quicker.
Mhm.
Leaders and brokers, we're talking to you. When you
Yeah,
bring on a productive agents, you build that skill and knowledge,
yeah,
it affects your bottom line quicker. So we could
yeah,
spend the whole time on that. So I guess we can't.
yeah.
So we can keep
Let's
moving
keep
on.
rolling, and I'll just answer Kelly Fry's question real quick.
Yes.
It really depends on average sales price. In our world, a producing agent would be someone who did 6 units in the last 12 months. And that's pretty low bar, by the way. That's not like a super high bar. Our average sales price is, three, 400,000. So, that's like a $2 million producer. So, ideally, I describe a producing agent as someone who I don't have to teach how to write a contract, someone who I don't have to teach how to hold an open house, someone who I don't have to teach how to take a listing. I just have to motivate them and train them to do more. That, to me, that's a producing agent. Okay. All right, let's pull the plan back up and let's keep rolling. So, part seven, new agent production goals. So, this would be all right. So, what's going on here? And I think there's 2 pages of this, and you'll see down there at the bottom it says copy and duplicate this page as needed. This is essentially you taking your agent business plans and, for lack of a better term, plopping their information right into this part of the plan. So, if you have an agent, let's just say her name is Amy Smith. She completed her business plan with you. Amy Smith's goal is to sell 36 homes this year for a total of 6 million in volume, which will bring about 300,000 in GCI. I don't know. I'm just picking numbers out of thin air. You write that in right there. I gotta know what each one of my at a minimum, I have to know what each one of my agents' units, GCI, and closed volume goal is. Well, Jeff, why don't I need to know their company dollar or profit per agent? Because that's part of the overall number, right? You have an average. In other words, every single one of you on this call has an average GCI to company dollar percentage, right? They vary because some of you are indie brokerages with high commissions to the agents, or some of you are franchise owners with high commissions to the agents, but there's additional franchise fees in there. I don't need any of that. You all have a separate margin. All I need to know is how many are they going to close, what is their volume going to be, and what's their GCI. And from there, I can figure out from my own margins. Okay, so that's part seven. You'll see it says copy and duplicate this page as needed. Obviously, if you have hundreds of agents, you're going to have several of these pages as part of your plan.
And if I could plus this in one way, if you were to add the word why, like why they want to accomplish that to it, and you found out for each of those people, that would take it one step further for you as well in the conversations you're able to have with them. And
Yeah.
then if we're going to leverage AI and things like that, take every single one of these pages that you have for your business and drop it into a project in Gemini or a project inside of ChatGPT, and put every single one of these agent business at a glance plans, the production goals in something like that. So that when you're getting ready to hop into a meeting with one of them, you can just type their name into it and it'll immediately pull it up for you. And then you can just drop the notes in there so that you're not only paying attention to how you can increase your margins by knowing all of their numbers, but it's also a way for you to pay attention to your people and show them how much you actually care about them.
Yep. Yep. I love that. Well, Scott, let's just make a note of it, or Kathy, let's just make a note of it in next year's plan. Units closed, volume, GCI, and their why. We bring that up in their one-on-ones all the time. There's no reason why that could not be added to this page. So I love that. All right,
Got
let's
it.
keep going. Okay, here's where we start to have some fun. These are my favorite parts of the plan. Scott, Kathy, I don't know if you agree.
Totally.
Finally, I'm not born to be a numbers person. Most leaders are not, because you're hard charging, you're driving, you're moving forward, you're taking market share, you're taking over your town. And so the thought of thinking about all those numbers seems draining. And before we move away from them, don't ever forget, you are the business owner. You set an example. And a great business owner has a couple key qualities, including one of them, which is called awareness. A great business owner has awareness of exactly where they are and where they want to go as it relates to the numbers. So I don't want all of you skipping past everything and just going right to this point just because we're excited to talk about this too. We got to go through the last few pages of the plan in order for part 8, 9, 10, and so forth to make sense. And so that what that actually means is you probably, and we should have said this from the beginning, Kathy and Scott, this plan should take you about 3 to 4 hours to complete, in my opinion. Like for me, today I'm flying from Seattle to Detroit. It would take my entire 4.5 hour flight to complete this plan. But also, I know that if I spend 3, 4 hours really thoroughly going through this plan, I'm set for the year. I just need to revisit it once a week. I'm good for my business planning for the year. Maybe I'll have a mid-year plan or a mid-year update, but it's going to take 3, 4 hours for somebody to get through this plan.
Yep. And remember, as we said in the beginning, it's a working document. So that's why you got to be, I love when my clients come up, Jeff, and say, look at my plan. It's like beaten up because I still like paper.
Yeah, yeah.
So they
I
have
do
their
too.
notes written on
Yeah.
it. They're looking at it weekly. And so they write things down. So remember, it's a working document. This is your guide to have the best year that you will ever have in 2026.
All right. So let's talk the actual tactics. So all these
Yeah.
blank lines, and we'll get it back up on the screen here. All those blank lines is where you write in your action items. In other words, when you say, okay, here is how I'm going to recruit 12 producing agents in 2026. And I'm going to spend 2 hours on the phone. I'm going to go ahead and get broker metrics recorded so I get their data. I'm going to call all of my agents' closings, the agent on the other side, or when the deal goes pending, I'm going to call them and introduce myself. I'm going to host events. This is where you write in all of the actual tactics, your plan of action of what you're going to do, or as you see there in the plan, who is going to do what by when. Kathy, do you want to add to that?
Of course, because I can't stand myself with recruiting, as most of you know. So here's a couple tips when it comes to recruiting, right? So obviously, Jeff always says this, and he's 100% right. The number one thing with recruiting is still picking up the old-fashioned telly.
Yes.
We have multiple areas that we teach with recruiting and different ways to do it, but we're going to give you just a couple tips. And then obviously in the team and broker building class, we go into a deep dive of the top 10 sources that are working for us at Glover Agency with recruiting. But just remember, the old-fashioned telly should be written on you guys know what
Yeah.
a telly is? It's a telephone. It's just fancy now.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just celebrated a birthday, so no comment from my friends on that. But so pick up the phone, right? Now, here's a tip when you pick up the phone when it comes to recruiting. We have the scripts that you all need. You can go to gloveru.com resources and download the scripts. Okay.
Yep.
And just because you're a leader or you're teaching a leader doesn't mean that we don't have to internalize them because we do. But the key with calling productive agents, the scripts are there. You can utilize them. Again, you can go to gloveru.com and go to resources. They're there. But here's the tip. When you're calling productive agents, yes, you have to call them in the morning and get your consistent with your schedule. Write down, I must call them between 5 and 5:30 or 4:30 to 5:30 also. Okay. In the afternoon. With all the experience that we've had with recruiting, Jeff, Scott, myself,
Yeah.
Taylor is amazing at it, is we catch more productive agents at that time. So that's when you want to follow up with lead up. So that's just one tip I'm giving you when it's talking about what you want to do effectively with recruiting.
Yeah. And my
Why
rule of
is
thumb
that,
on that,
Kathy?
oh, go ahead.
I'm
Why
sorry.
do we catch more of them in the evening than we do in the morning?
It's interesting that you say that. I'm not even sure I've ever studied the answer. I just know from experience.
Hmm.
That's why I started, I've been recruiting for a long time. So I learned I could catch them later.
Yeah.
So when I do, because I felt it and I've done it and I do it, I know when to catch them. So I'm not
Yeah.
telling you not to do it in the morning,
Yep.
but they answer the phone maybe more likely later in the
Yeah.
day.
So I'll
Yeah.
just say one thing to that, all right? And it kind of is similar to what I say to real estate agents about their production. If you don't have an appointment to go on, what else do you have to do? So my opinion is if you don't
Yeah.
have a recruit coming to meet with you in the afternoon, what else do you have to do? Now, you're going to see the recommended schedule of a top producing team leader and you're going to see the recruiting there in the morning. That doesn't what Kathy is sharing a best practice for herself. That doesn't mean, oh, I'm going to move my recruiting from the morning into the afternoon. No, no, no. I'm suggesting if you don't have an appointment in the afternoon, you're going to do it twice. Or you're going to follow up with the people that did not answer in the morning. And Kathy is suggesting that because
Yeah.
if you reach out to them in the morning, and they didn't respond, they're more likely to respond in the afternoon. So a simple rule of thumb is if you don't have recruiting appointments in the afternoon, what else do you got to do? You might as well go back and try to touch base with the people that didn't answer in the morning. All right, let's get the plan back up and let's keep rolling through it.
Yep.
So, part eight, again, we're writing out all of our tactics for recruiting and retention. Think of things that you can do from a retention standpoint. whether it's running contests, whether it's spotlighting your agents, whether it's doing, hosting quarterly masterminds with your people, right? Think of things that are unique and out of the box that you can provide as value to help you with your retention. And you're going to write in my opinion, you got 9 lines for each of these. So, Jeff, do I need to fill out all 9? No, you don't. But obviously, the more you do, the more likely you are to hit your goals. So my rule of thumb would be minimum of 5 in each one of these as we go through. All right, let's go to
Yeah,
part 9.
Jeff, one
Go ahead,
thing that
Scott.
I want to add to this on the recruiting is I know that look, we're Glover U and we're gonna talk about our events and everything like that. Yet let me tell you why it's important to put Glover U events on your recruiting strategy. Look,
Mhm.
there's a lot of agents out there that are producers that would love to attend an event with you, yet many of them are going to say no to the corporate events that your franchise may have because they don't want to be seen at one of those events. And they're more likely to say yes to going to an event that is broker agnostic, where you and that person can still spend quality time together. You're pouring into them from the standpoint of developing them as an agent, and they don't have to worry about somebody seeing them at a KW event or an EXP event or whatever company you're with. They
Yeah.
can feel comfortable being at that event and they don't have to hide.
It's a very good point. They also won't feel as much pressure to join. Producers are savvy. Producers are smart, Scott, and so they know why you're inviting them to your company's conference. They're not silly. So when you invite them to Glover U, we don't have a dog in the fight. We're not presenting any one company from the stage. All we're caring about is helping them list and sell more real estate. So you'll probably get more respect from your potential recruits because they're going to say, okay, finally, you're inviting to me to something that's going to help me grow my business, not going to be one big sales pitch for your company. So Scott and Kathy, you guys know as well as I do, we've used the tactic of inviting recruits to events for years. And it's amazing to me, even if you pay their flight, you pay their hotel, you pay their ticket, they still decline. Why? Just because what Scott said there. They don't want to be seen there and they don't want to feel obligated to have to join to join your firm afterwards because now they feel like they owe you something. Where at getting them to a Glover U event, you're still getting the 3.5 days of time together and dinners and all of that. However, there's no pressure to join any one company. They're going to naturally join you later down the line because you actually did something for them in their business, not showing them that you're just thinking about yourself.
And let's not forget that that should also be part of your strategy for retention is inviting them to some of those
Yeah.
outside of your company events as well, because those people need to feel the exact same thing.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we have in front of us, and I just noticed a little typo here. Training should be skills focused in 2025. That should say 2026. Skills focused in 2026. Why? Because just like 2025, we anticipate we're going to see more of the same in 2026 than we saw in 2025. Now, if interest rates come down into the fives or 5%, 5.5, that could throw that prediction all out the window. But if that doesn't happen, we're going to see more of the same in 2026 than what we saw of what we compared to what we saw in 2025, and therefore agent skills. Particularly around contacts. So I want you to make a note, and for those of you that are joining us in January, you're going to hear this in the theme of the summit. I'm calling 2026 the year of the contact. So the training should be skills focused in 2026, but specifically around teaching your agents how to make more contacts. Why is that? Well, because watch, if less listings are selling and more buyers want to see more homes before they choose one, what does that mean if I want to get more listings sold and have more buyer sales? As an agent, I'm going to have to make more contacts because then that leads to more opportunities, which leads to more contracts, which leads to more closing, right? It all boils down to the contact. Even when we talk about a higher percentage of deals falling apart, like Scott mentioned early on in this session, if I want to overcome deals falling apart, like let's just pretend I'm not going to get any better at saving deals. Fine, I just need to write more of them then to make up for the ones that are going to fall apart. And so when you think about your training in 2026, it really needs to be focused on skills training, specifically around how to help your agents make more contacts. All right, let's keep rolling. Support would be operations improvements as well. What operations support needs to be improved, added, subtracted? Right now we're seeing kind of a revolution of the industry and the way things are done. Are there things that can be picked up by AI? Are there tasks that someone behind the scenes can do for you, a virtual assistant, versus somebody that you're paying a high salary to? But Jeff, they're a talented person. Awesome. Could you put them in charge of something else? So this is where you would list out some changes that you want to make as it relates to support in your operations department.
So just real quick on that, Jeff, remember agents that are with you or productive agents that you're bringing on are looking for what you can take off their plate. So when it comes to support, you need to be asking yourself as we plan in 2026, what can I take off their plate? Now, I didn't say give it to them.
Yeah.
We didn't say you're going to hand it to them. You're going to
Mhm.
maybe charge them for what you're going to take off their plate. But remember, you have to answer that question because that's what agents are looking for. We want them in the field of income generating activities and being out in the field, not, spending time with the servicing side so much. So
Such
remember,
a
we're going
great
to take
point.
off their plate. Yep.
Kathy, when I
Correct.
think about all the agents that Taylor recruited to our team in the last couple of years, that was the number one thing they wanted. Experienced producing agents wanted more stuff taken off their plate so they can
Yep.
spend more time in the field or more time with their family. You nail
Yep.
that one, you'll be able to attract producers.
That's a
Yeah.
fact.
And one thing that I would add to that on the training and then on the support, drop your training calendars and the events and things like that you're going to be having in your offices in Grok or Gemini or ChatGPT and ask it what gaps that you may have in that training calendar based upon what's going on in your market. Feel free to grab your MLS statistics and upload it into that and say, based upon everything that's going on here, what are the things that we should add to our training calendar just based upon our market? And then on the support side of things, go and figure out who your top four competitors are in your area and find out what is attracting agents to those places from a support side of things. It doesn't mean you need to go and implement all of those
Yes.
things. If you had to choose just one that was important and you knock that off throughout the year to make yourself and your company even more attractive, how could you implement an additional layer of support that some of those
Yeah.
people are receiving at your competitors?
I
Yeah.
can't help myself but add to that to narrow it down even further. When I think about that 1.9 million that was added, it wasn't just support, it was support with helping take things off of their plate as it related to their database.
Yeah.
So if you think about it for a second, there's a lot of things administratively that I think a lot of leaders, you guys, I think a lot of the leaders' brains go to, oh, more admin support. I can help them order their signs, or I can help them get their listing paperwork done, or I can help them with their remarks. No, no, no. I'm thinking support to help them grow their business. So when I
Right.
look at the agents that joined us, it was, here's the deal. Okay. You don't have to give us your database. You own your database. I'm not interested in keeping your contacts. Those are yours. And if you will allow us to help you host client events, if you will allow us to help you put together mailers, if you will allow us to help you put together a social media strategy and take all of that off your plate so you have more time to be out in the field, would that be of value to you? Are you kidding me? That's what they want. When we talk leverage and operational support, it's not just ordering up their signs and inputting their listings.
The other thing, of course, we could beat this dead, but I can't help myself. It's Taylor says it perfectly in a Glover agency. You look at what the problem is in the market and then you be the solution.
That's right.
And you have to look and say, what is the problem? How are we the solution? And one of them is we say take it off their plate, the database plan. And that's critical. And the last thing I'll say on this, and I can't help myself, and you'll smile when I say this. Remember with retention, okay? MMFI.
Mhm.
Make me feel important. MMFI, for those of you that are new to us, I want you to write that down. Retention can be very one-on-one. It's just picking up the phone. It's really just connecting with someone and let them know that they mean something. Remember, people make decisions to stay or go based on how they feel. So don't forget
Mhm.
the soft side of our industry, but it's super important, MMFI. Okay, let's
Yep.
keep going.
Yep. All right. Let's pull the plan back up.
Yep.
Everyone's favorite. All right. Everyone's favorite is, yep, there is a recommended schedule. Now, watch. Do you have to follow this to a T? You don't have to. And you may or may not be surprised to hear, Kathy, the schedule on the left was my exact schedule as I was a manager for you. in one of your 16 offices. For those that don't know, Kathy hired me when I was a young real estate agent wanting to learn how to train and develop. That schedule on the left was my exact schedule. And
Yep.
by the way, the schedule on the right was my exact schedule as I built Glover Agency, which what used to be known as Jeff Glover and Associates. 32 full-time salespeople doing about 1,000 units a year. That's the schedule on the right. Why is it different? Why is there two? Well, because if you didn't know, I was also selling 100 homes a year while building Jeff Glover and Associates, which is now Glover Agency. And so when I think about which schedule you should follow, it's just a matter of, are you in production, meaning are you listing and selling real estate? Then it's probably going to look a little bit more like the one on the right. Are you not in production? Are you a team leader, or do you have a team leader that you want to give? By the way, Taylor's schedule, because she's the CEO of Glover Agency and she's not in real estate sales production, although she has her license and she does a few deals here and there, her schedule looks more like the one on the left. And so, ideally, pick one that's a fit for you. And what's going to end up happening is you're going to look at this and say, whoa, this is intense. Well, first of all, the schedule was on the right. I was selling 100 homes a year. It doesn't have to be as intense if you're not selling 100 homes per year. And the schedule on the left would be if you want to grow a massive team or a massive brokerage. If your goal isn't to grow a massive team or a massive brokerage, it doesn't have to look as intense. Kathy, Scott, anything you want to add to the schedule?
Yeah, just don't make it pretty, make it intentional.
Mhm.
Put something up that you're actually going to follow. I've
Yeah.
seen beautiful calendars before, but if you don't follow them, nothing changes. And then one other thing that I would add to it is post it and share it with the people who are on your team so they know what you're supposed to be doing, when you're supposed to be doing it. And if your door hat does need to be closed, your people don't just think you're not paying attention to them. They realize that you're working during that time.
Yeah, I just closed the door, put the schedule on, says, love you, be back at 11:30 during the management by walking around time.
Yeah.
So you can see in that, Jeff, and this is one thing that we face as leaders is the gotta minutes, and we can't spend a lot of time on that, but you do have to put in your schedule. You'll see at 11:30 MBWA, which is an old fashioned thing, but it
Yeah.
works, or open door, or that's when you're going to connect with your agents so they
Yeah.
don't feel like you're neglecting them.
The last thing I want to say on this schedule is that comes to mind is I think of the law of the lid. Okay. So hear me loud and clear on this because I know when you see this schedule, for some of you or most of you, it might be way more intense than what you're currently operating at. And here's the deal. If you're going to ask your agents to have a strong work ethic and to come into the office and to make calls and to follow a schedule, they need to see you following one as well. If this schedule in your mind is like a nine, man, I could maybe be a little bit more intense, but this schedule is like a nine on a scale of a one to 10. The law of the lid says your agents will never be higher than a nine. You'll have a lot of seven and eights running around as it relates to their schedule. And that's good for a real estate company. The problem is a lot of leaders operate at a five or six, and then you wonder why your agents are operating at fours and fives. All
Mhm.
right, let's go to the next point. And so it gives you the next page. Obviously, it gives you an opportunity to write in your own version of it. So let's keep going. Financial model. This is really just in there. I know by now you all have basic P&L knowledge or you've been operating from a P&L for a while. So this is just to remind everyone we're running a business to be profitable. And so it might be a good idea to make sure we fill one of these out, if not monthly, for sure annually. All right, let's go to the next part.
Mhm.
Everyone should be doing this right now. If you haven't, you should be. A lot of you have already been doing it because it's been in our plans for our real estate agents for a couple of years now. Every year at the end of, and I just saw our emails going back and forth with our leadership team on this. We take a look at literally every single expense in our business, and we make a decision: are we going to keep that for next year, or are we going to get rid of it? And then everything that's kind of like a maybe, we put it into the B category. And by the time the meeting is done, everything in the B category has to be moved to we're committing to keep it for another year or we're getting rid of it. And when this activity is all said and done, nothing is left in that B category. Everything you're either committing to keep for another year or you're getting rid of. That's the expense management activity. Part 13, personal social media plan. Part 14, personal video plan. Part 15, personal skill development plan. Here's the deal. All right. You've been coming to Glover U events, so you know we've been teaching this for years. We've been teaching your agents this. I want you to think about this for a second, okay? And don't get mad, don't get offended, don't get angry and hang up and stop the Zoom. How can you expect your agents to build a big business on social media if you're not willing to? How can you expect your agents to create video content if you're not doing so yourself? How can you expect your agents to put themselves out there? Because I know you all say it, right? You host sales. Guys, you got to be out there on social media. Make sure you're posting on social media. Our marketing team just created that graphic for you. Make sure you post it. But what are you doing? They're looking at what you do. And if you get the chance to come to some of our events, we're going to teach you and we're going to teach your agents how to create strong personal social media plans. Because hear me loud and clear on this. Agents that you're attracting, I'm going to talk about that. That was a retention comment. Now I'm going to talk about recruiting. Agents that you're attracting are getting into business with you because of who they see that you are on social media. They
Yep.
don't get a chance to see who you are if you're not out there. And if they don't see who you are, do you know whose company they're joining? They're joining the other leaders in your market who they do get a chance to know because you know what it's like growing up. Watch, perfect example. Kathy Scott growing up, you see someone on the news and then you see them in public, you feel like you know them, right?
Yep.
Yep. Same thing happens for real estate leaders in a market. You constantly see their life on social media, and when you finally meet them for a recruiting appointment or whatever, you feel like you know them and you can resonate with them. You want to talk about how to attract more people like you, more leaders like you show more of what you're doing day in and day out on social media. Super important that you do that as a leader, and this is your
And
opportunity
if
to
you
write out step by step what you can do.
on the recruiting side of things like that for social media, Jeff, if you set an appointment with them, they're going to decide whether or not they're going to keep that appointment with you based upon what they see on your social media, and they want to experience your culture before
Yeah.
they walk through the door. So you have to be sharing the things you actually have going on inside of your offices because
Yes.
that is what they want to experience and see before they choose to keep the appointment with you.
Man, if there's anybody that you guys should be following on this, you should be following Scott on social media. You should be following Kathy on social media. You should be following Glover Agency on social media. You should be following me on social media because we are intentionally putting out content to attract producers into our world. Super important. You're following people that are doing that so that way you can rip ideas from us and you can go create the same stuff. All right, let's go to
Are
the next
indeed.
page. Kathy, did you want to add anything to that?
Nope, you guys nailed it.
Okay, all I was going to say, I love to talk about old dog new tricks here. Okay. Go back to that page, marketing team. Go back to that last page. Kathy, okay, for those that don't follow Kathy on social media, you guys need to. She showed up in our company 3 years ago, Kathy, 3.5 years ago.
About three, I think.
3 years ago, and we've known each other basically my whole life. She hired me when I was 20. She's now the CEO of Glover U. And when I look at her social media, it was Canva images. It was just blanket, like the happy Halloween pumpkin photo, like nothing personal. And now just go follow Kathy. You'll see what she's putting out there on social media. I think you guys will get a lot of value from it. Okay,
Yeah, if I can do it, you can all do it. Trust me.
there we go. There we go.
Yep.
And you did it
You
all
nailed
in
it
three
too.
years.
You're right.
All right, as we wrap up the plan here, part 16, part 17, hiring needs. I want to touch on this one for a second. Next and ultimate, who are the people that we need in our world right now? And that you would put, in this point, you'd put what their role is and maybe even their name if you've got a target list in your mind. And I would also add by when do you want to hire them by? So the role, their name if you know it, and by when do you want to hire them by? That goes under part 16 based on what your value proposition to your agents is going to be in 2026. But what I love about this one is that word ultimate. So I don't care where it goes, what line you write it on, but who would be an ultimate game changer in your business? Who is someone in or outside of your market that you could get to join you if you could get them to join you, they would make a big difference in your world. Okay, I was tasked with this activity probably 8 years ago, 10 years ago now, and the name that I wrote down was Kathy Schweitzer because I thought, you know what, there's no way I can afford her right now, but I know one day she's going to make a big difference in my world, and we're going to be back in business together. I was given this activity, and I wrote her name down 8 years ago, and it only took me about 5 years to lead follow up before I finally convinced her to join us. But it works, all right. Part 17, what value proposition changes are you making? What improvements are you going to make to your value proposition? In other words, what is value proposition as a leader? Value proposition as a leader is what you're providing agents in exchange for what you charge them for. That's essentially the simple premise of that. What you provide versus what you charge them for, what you give them for what you charge them for. So what changes are you going to make as it relates to part 17? Scott, Kathy, are there any changes that you're seeing leaders in our world that are making as part of their value proposition changes for next year?
Yes, they're really, really focusing on bringing high value trainings like Sales Rocket and things
Hmm.
like that into their offices.
Hmm.
Um, to focus even more on listings because one of the things that we hear is there's a lot of people who are wanting to pivot to focus on buyers right now because it
Yeah,
can be easier to pick them up.
yeah,
Yet we know that longevity in this business depends upon listings.
that's
So
right.
keeping them listings focused even when they feel like buyers are easier to pick up in this
Yep,
market. That's one of the big pivots that we're
yep,
seeing so many top leaders make right now.
yeah. Kathy, anything you
I'm,
want to add to
I'm,
that?
no, the only thing I would say that is upping their game with sales-based training. And
Hmm.
obviously Sales Rocket is what we love and suggest
Yeah,
because it's the best out there. But,
yeah,
and the other thing just goes back to what we talked about 3 times earlier is they're upping their value proposition of income generating activities that they can take off their agents' plates, like a
yeah,
database plan.
yeah,
That's critical. And then of course, any AI that might be working
yep.
uh, out there right now.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add to that is helping your agents create a brand. There's not many people in your market
Yeah.
that can teach them how to create a brand. So the more autonomy you can give them and helping them build a brand, the more you make that part of your value proposition. Heck, that's one of the reasons why we decided to introduce a new model. We wanted to make sure our agents could have all the autonomy and create their own absolute brand, even while working for a real estate team. And so we've been doing that, and this model that we introduced, called Glover Agency, the brokerage model, was largely so that they could go out and create more of their own brand, which is something that they would get on their own, so to speak. Down at the bottom of the business plan, part 18 would be your coach suggestions. Obviously, if you're working with one of us, one of our coaches, we're going to review the plan with you and give you some suggestions to help you better your business for 2026. And I think, let me see, keep scrolling, is there anything else? There's just more stuff in there for you to use to help improve your business, but I think that's it for the plan.
Then
Yep, that's
there's
it for the plan. Okay, good. So if we can get the slideshow back up, there's one last thing I want to mention for this group. Um, and you already heard Scott kind of allude to it. Um, if there's anything I can do, all right, if I'm a leader watching this session, whether you watch it live or you watch the replay, if there's anything I can do to make my life easier and improve my bottom line of my company in 2026, that would be getting your agents to the Live Unreal Summit this January in Phoenix, Arizona. Now,
Mhm.
I know what you're going to say. Well, Jeff, it's only like 45 days away. There's no way I could get. I can promise you, all the way up until the first week of January, people are booking flights and booking hotel rooms, which we just checked. There's still rooms left in the room block. And so, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I asked our video team to put together a 3-minute video explaining if I'm in your shoes, what should I do next, Jeff? And the answer is in the Live Unreal Summit. And so, I'm going to have the video team pull up that video so you can see that. And at the end, we got one more thing before we go.
You can't wing your way to the best year of your career. And if this year is any indication of what 2026 will look like, you need a plan. You need direction. You need to be in this room.
My business has doubled, literally doubled.
It is a game changer. It will change your life. It will change your business. And it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made.
This January, we're kicking off 2026 in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona. And if you're serious about selling more homes, hitting the goals you've been chasing, and living your unreal life, you need to be here.
I'm hitting records that I've never hit before. I'm breaking through limiting barriers I've never had.
This is the Live Unreal Summit, the event that will launch your year with clarity, purpose, confidence, and a plan that actually works.
So many life-changing aha moments. Being in rooms with like-minded agents who are focusing on getting better.
We'll give you the exact systems, tools, strategy, and the mindset required to grow in any market, no matter what the headlines say. This isn't fluff. This is tactical. This isn't stuff agents did 5 years ago. This is the stuff my team and I and literally thousands of Glover U clients around North America are winning with today.
Do it. It is 3.5 days, action-packed. of motivation, inspiration, pages of tactical strategies that I can implement.
With some of the other events that I've been to in the past, it always seems like what's on stage is for show and not for dough. And what Jeff puts on stage is what's going to actually help you make money and be successful in a difficult and challenging market.
I invite you to join us at this January's Live Unreal Summit in Scottsdale, Arizona at the beautiful Westin Kierland Resort.
Better to go big and really take in all the content, all the fun. You won't regret it.
If you want to actually be successful in this business, you need to put yourself in rooms with other people that are successful. If you want to be mediocre and average, keep doing what you're doing.
So the question is, are you going to drift into 2026? Or are you going to grab the reins and drive your business forward? Secure your seat, set the tone for your year, surround yourself with people who are where you want to be, and make your unreal life your reality. We'll see you this January.
Everything we do is about fans.
The Savannah Bananas.
The Savannah Bananas.
Savannah Bananas.
The Savannah Bananas, baby.
One team down south is taking the sport by storm.
But we're trying to create the greatest show in sports.
That's an incredible story. Like, what an American dream.
You got to think differently. Whatever's normal, do the exact opposite. Stand out, be different, have fun, and swing hard. In case you hit it.
The guy in the yellow suit, Jesse Cole.
He's got a goal to bring the bananas not just across the country, but around the world.
I'm Jesse Cole, the owner of the Savannah Bananas and the creator of Banana Ball.
Everyone's like, how'd you get that guy? Well, listen, if you don't know Banana Ball or Jesse Cole, I suggest you do a little bit of research on him. The one big question that I have for him that he's going to address for us is, you have obviously, by the way, you see the QR code, you can scan that, use that code, that'll get you guys, since you joined us today, we're giving you $150 off. All right, so take advantage of that, put that towards your already reduced room, or put that towards your flight. Obviously, you can share that code. We did decide as a leadership team, you can also share that code with your agents. So if you want to use that code with your agents, we will approve that as well, so long as you are on today's session or you're watching the recording of this, you may use that code with your agent since you attended today. Anyways, Jesse is going to be talking about how to reinvent an otherwise traditional game of real estate. He has reinvented an otherwise traditional game of baseball, and we're going to be talking about how we can reinvent an otherwise traditional game of real estate, because right now your agents all think that ChatGPT can be their marketing team, and they're all starting to sound and look the same. And that's not going to work in the long run. And so we're going to have some great discussions around that. That's not even including the breakout sessions, the one-on-ones, everything else that we do during our 3.5 days together. For you as leaders, there's breakout sessions every day. There's leadership sessions every day. So you're going to get to know a lot of the leaders that are using the Glover U system around North America at a very high level. And so make sure you rub elbows and shake hands of all the other leaders while you're attending those breakout sessions and those special sessions for those of you that are joining us. So if you want to take advantage of our discounted room rate, just go to gloveru.com/summit. I'll drop that in the chat so you guys have that, gloveru.com/summit. Of course, you're going to see me, Scott, Kathy there, all of our coaches, 1,500 agents and leaders from all over North America. As you probably figured out by now, we're broker agnostic. So you're going to have agents there from RE/MAX, Century 21, Coldwell Banker, EXP, Real, Keller Williams, you name it. And a lot of independents that are going to be there as well. And I promise you, as a leader, you're going to walk out of there saying, damn, that was pretty good. I got some good stuff for me to run my business. And your salespeople are going to be all fired up and ready to go back and listen to sell more real estate to help you grow your bottom line. So we can't wait to join you guys this January at the beautiful Westin Kierland in sunny Scottsdale, Arizona. As if you need another reason. I mean, January, I know what January is like in Detroit. I don't know what it's like in your market, but it's a great reason to get out of the cloud and the snow and the cold. Kathy, Scott, anything you want to add?
Nope, I think we've covered it. Can't wait to see you guys all in January at the summit. It's a great way to get your agents involved, and they will thank you, and you're going to be happy that you guys all came. I promise
Go
you.
make 2026 the best year ever.
You will.
There's a lot of reasons that we can have for it not being that. Put the pedal to the metal and just make it happen. Follow the plan that you put together, and have a coach that's going to hold you accountable.
That's right. All right. Let's get after it. We'll see you guys. Have a good rest of the day.
Thanks, everyone.